episode of the Phantom Zone. We're going to be trying something a little bit new this time, where we're going to have a rotating cast of anchors. And guess what, it's me this time. So, I'm Erik Fedorchuk, and with me tonight are...
Arlen Haro.
Okay, I'll go. Connor's here.
I thought we were just doing our names, yeah.
I'm Lou Gonzalez. I guess I don't know where we're going to start with, but we're kind of being four horsemen of the apocalypse.
I'll start by saying that making Erik the anchor is kind of like giving John Waters like first dibs on something. It's like, what are you going to do? Let's be gross.
To be fair, nobody was volunteering. Nobody was like...
I believe I said, I'll jump on the grenade this first time, so... And if I'm like John Waters, then you're going to be my divine, and I have a dog that just took a dump, motherfucker. Anyways, so the first order of business this evening is something that Arlen... something that Arlen shared with us, or with the group chat, and the first story is going to be about... Karen Kusama is going to be directing a Dracula film for Blumhouse, and the other half is James Wan is going to be producing a Universal monster movie for Universal. It's Karen Kusama. I am very excited about the fact that she's going to be directing Dracula. I hadn't realized that part before, and her directing The Invitation makes me nothing but excited to see this. Yeah. Go ahead.
I was my first thought when I read that was like, the tension is going to be off the walls in this Dracula movie. Like, I would imagine there's going to be a lot of build-up, because that's what she's very good at, and it's going to be kind of more of a mystery thriller than some of the other Draculas, where you're not sure if he actually is Dracula, and that's a take I can get behind, where you're sort of, you're told by the movie to not think that he is a vampire, which could be interesting. Or she could just go her entirely own way with it, and just completely surprise us, do something very traditional.
I just think it's amusing that the Dark Universe just won't fucking die in whatever form it takes.
Well, I think it has died. I think it's like evolving slowly into something completely different.
It fakes its death and then gets a new identity from like the fucking witness protection or something like that. Like we're like, it's dead, and then Universal a few years later is like, look, this is a new thing.
Well, it's the one of the what? Is it basically now the only franchise it owns that's profitable?
Fast and Furious is
Fast and Furious
one. But Fast and Furious is Universal's big. That's their big one.
I also think it's that Universal is never coming out and saying these movies are all connected ever again. Like unless they have multiple.
They're not going to lead with that. That's certainly not.
They're not going to lead that, and then take a group shot with a bunch of actors that haven't done anything yet.
Yeah. Unfortunate planning on their part.
I do want to say, like, the reason this is like kind of thing is in the group chat, I was kind of like, do we really need this? I'm kind of, and I did say, just before this, I'm a half hour into the first episode of the Netflix Dracula, and I really like it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, do we need more of the traditional Dracula? Like, do we need to see Transylvania and him going to England and meeting Harker?
So here's my problem with
really good.
Yeah. I think it really depends on who's presenting the story to us, and if they present it in a way that's well done, then yes, give it to me.
Yeah, it's the same question for me as like, do we need another Romeo and Juliet? Well,
and my answer would be no.
I would say, tell me who's directing it and tell me who's in it.
Exactly.
I would say
Baz Luhrmann.
Yes.
To me, it's like, if it's strictly the traditional retelling, and I put Romeo and Juliet in this, I don't need it. If it's a new take on any of the Universal monsters, but specifically to me, I think The Mummy is the one where I think there's almost no way to really do that movie anymore, unless you're doing like a hokey, what they did with Brendan Fraser.
Well,
because it's just like an idea that doesn't, like, there isn't the interest in ancient Egypt that there was. unless you take it to another place.
There doesn't. Go ahead, Arlen. Go ahead.
I don't disagree completely, but I think that misses the point of why Invisible Man worked and what it actually did. I think that as long as you can find the equivalent in this story and you can modernize it and take what works and apply it to a modern context, as long as they can do that, I think it will be fine. Yeah. Regardless.
And I agree with you exactly there. Like, that's why I think of all of them, or of the Universal monsters, like, what I would like to see is someone take kind of the original essence of why the people created those characters. So, like, Frankenstein, the fear of surgery and science, and apply that to modern day. Like, can we have a Frankenstein where a doctor's trying to 3D print an entire human body and see if that makes a person?
Something to that effect. And here, I don't think it's a coincidence that James Wan, the person who is the most connected to Lee Whannell in their entire careers are inextricably linked to each other, that he's one of the first people that they announced is getting his own movie. And then Karen Kusama, who is in the same kind of genre box in her own way, is the other person that gets announced. To me, that says we had these pitches already. These pitches were going in a very Invisible Man way, and that they probably had other pitches from other people that were going to go a different way if Invisible Man had tanked.
You mean like that Monster Mash movie that no one wants to say what it's going to be?
But I do want to say, of all those characters, I think Invisible Man is the easiest to modernize, because all you have to do is, like, it's an invisible guy, and now this time, like, that's why we've had Hollow Man and the...
the new... Arlen, you've seen it. I haven't yet. But the new Invisible Man takes the idea of the Invisible Man, but does some interesting things with it from everything I've read about it. And that's where it's contemporizing, like, the Universal monsters and making them interesting. And where I think even something as much as the dreaded Mummy could work.
Right, and it's a natural extrapolation. I don't want to go too far into it, but if you look at the original Invisible Man, it's playing on the sort of, absolute power corrupts absolutely type of thing. And this is, well, what's the modern version of power like that corrupting absolutely? Well, the thing that's going to pop up for most people is people who are super rich using their technology for bad, ill things, or things that do not serve the common good. And, well, what's a current issue that is very well not popularized, that has a lot of attention, and I would say that violence against women is one of those issues, and they connected those two things.
I couldn't get it in a time. I was going to say my horrible concern for the health of Harvey Weinstein.
Sure. Yes.
Die in prison, you fat piece of shit.
Although what's funny is the star of that movie is in a cult that abuses women all the time.
Well, yes, that's another topic that we will not be going into right now. But they connected it to a modern issue with modern power that goes wrong, and an issue that we assume people in those positions have. We assume that a lot of those guys are probably kind of weird and they might have issues with their significant others. And they're playing on that, and they're working. The problem is with Dracula is, like, of the other, besides the Mummy, which the only idea I had for the Mummy, like, if you modernize it, would be like they find some sort of DNA and they try to replicate it, and then you get, like, a quote unquote mummy. Like, they try to make a person out of it. But, like, sure. I mean, here's the thing. I think the Wolfman is also easy because that was, like, alcoholism, so you can kind of translate that to, like drug addiction or something. Like, it's very. The Wolfman is another one where you're right. It is clear. Like, you take into account the fact that the original Wolfman, he's played by Lon Chaney Jr., who's noted alcoholic, who was dealing with his own alcoholism, and you just make that text instead of having it be subtext. And that's how. And I think Dracula, that's easy. It's just, what version do you want to do? What sort of modern issues do you want to deal with? I agree. The Mummy is fraught. That's a fraught one.
With Dracula, it could be, you could kind of go into how it's difficult to be him in a fucking modern day setting with all this surveillance and fucking
Sure.
digital
See,
monitoring
I would
shit.
think it's the opposite. I would think it'd be even easier with dating apps and everything. And
Well,
that would be my fear, is that we'd get like a shitty app horror movie.
Right.
But see, that's the thing. I could see them going more with a fear of foreign in hyphens on Dracula, and using that as a staging point where they could use the fear of what's foreign or a foreigner as the main thrust behind a Dracula
You know what
story.
would be interesting with that idea is if it takes place in a non-Western country, but it's a Westerner, quote unquote, that is Dracula. Like,
that would be something.
Like a Dracula in China or in Korea or Japan.
Yeah, not
possibly.
So not that this would be a bad idea, but I think one of the problems that they'll have is they're doing modern day Dracula, if that's what they're going for, and they're not doing a period piece, is that we've had a lot of figures in recent history who are basically real life Dracula. He just doesn't have Dracula powers, but we have those types of people. And
like General Buck Naked.
Right. Yes. Exactly. Or Manson, or so on and so forth. The Nexium guy. So you have those people, and you could either lean into that heavy and make Dracula a cult leader who just happens to be a vampire.
That actually works, I think, for me.
If you do it interestingly.
Yeah, I don't want that.
Yeah, I don't really want that necessarily either.
See, and I don't love a period piece either, because I'm not
saying a period piece.
Yeah.
Well, I don't. Go ahead, Garland. Sorry.
Well, so you've seen the Moffat Dracula, the Netflix Dracula. What they're doing in that is they're doing a period piece, but for me, the most interesting part is the fact that he is turning humans against each other without having to do anything. His presence is causing people to turn rabid. I don't know if that's as much in the first episode, but it is in the second episode.
And I would say, it's really interesting, but that just came out, so
yeah, and that's an interesting idea. So if you have an idea like that, and you do set it in that period where it's a different take, but it's based in things that are there already. You're just extrapolating something out, because that's all they were doing. Dracula and vampires in general have always been seductive. What made them dangerous is that you fell for them, that you let them into your life, into your existence, and that you basically handed them the key. That's what made them scary, even before Dracula, where it was
100%.
The fear of it came from corpses reanimating, but they would be your family, and you would let them in, and then they would feed
vampires. Yes, but I think to go back to like how I was saying, like the original concepts, like that the writer, so it's Anne Rice, right, that made Dracula.
No,
I'm lying. I'm fucking with you. But no. Like the original idea is it's the foreigner who seduces the young virgin women.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, how would you play with that in a more modern tale? Would be interesting. And I just there are good we have a ton of period piece Dracula movies, and we have ton of bad ones and we have a ton of good ones, and
I'm not disagreeing with you with the idea that we might have had enough of them, but if they have an interesting take, I think it's worth it.
Exactly. But I think that's enough about the goddamn Draculas. We should talk a little bit about the James Wan thing that's going on here, which part of me is excited because of James Wan being involved, but saying a Frankenstein inspired story and going to be kind of Disturbia-esque, I don't know about that.
Well, it did make a Swamp Thing show, which is kind of Frankenstein-y.
He's a living human being who works in Hollywood who referenced Disturbia?
No, sources say the story takes its cues from Universal's classic monster legacy and shines it through a modern prism with shades of Disturbia.
No, I can see how that works, because I can't remember what the ending of Disturbia is, but isn't it like he's like doing experiments in his garage or something?
No, I think he's just killing people.
Is Disturbia just what do you call it?
It's just Rear Window.
Yeah.
But he's what is it? He's a process killer, not a process killer, a product killer.
Product killer?
Or something. Yeah, I think I barely remember that film. But like he's like doing stuff to people's bodies after he's done with them. So I can see where the Disturbia,
if it's a Frankenstein, that would work.
Yeah.
If he's seeing bodies go in and then like if somebody is seeing, like, that would be an interesting take to see, like, an outside perspective of and to make the true monster the doctor,
right,
and not the monster itself.
Yeah, you don't go through the story thinking that you're following the hero. You just know he's not the hero the whole time, and that could be interesting. I trust James Wan enough that I'm willing to go for it for now until I hear bad things or more details.
Well, the only thing that concerns me is anytime I hear, and this director that you like is producing, there's I don't even want to say 50-50. I'd say it's more a 75-25% chance that it could end up being hot dog shit.
Yeah, fair. I think it's just getting a stamp of the name because he has the Universal Fast and Furious connection. And
Well, and this is more an assumption on my part. I assume that the reason why it only says producing and developing at this moment is because he can't sign on officially. But did you hear from somewhere else that maybe it's for sure that he's not going to be directing at some point?
No, I didn't see anything else about it other than
he's also
article.
Suddenly very busy in the last like 5 years or so. Like, and he's already producing a Mortal Kombat movie, so he probably shouldn't do so much.
And he has Aquaman 2.
Right.
Well, actually, it even says in this article that he'll be producing with his Robot Monster banner, but he won't be directing the pick.
Okay. Yeah, that is. Yeah. So for me, I have to hear who the director is. I guess at this point. But if I'm willing to go along with it because he hasn't. Personally, for me, he hasn't produced or in anything at this point where I'm like, that was awful, with the exception of like the first Annabelle movie, where I know he was supposed to have actually had a hand in that, but like
dead silence.
But The Nun is like that's a producer because he created the character credit, is my understanding. I didn't like Annabelle 2 as much. I know you didn't hate it, but I thought that movie broke its own rules too many times.
Oh, I thought the second Annabelle was great. I really enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yeah, it was scary though, but that's the thing. Like, I can ignore a lot of stuff if it's scary, but I get bothered by certain things.
IMDb is like so filled, it's ridiculous. But I just saw something on here that I didn't know he was connected to, which is they're making a Dylan Dog TV show that he's producing.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Wait. The
thing
comic
Brandon Routh was in.
Yeah.
That Brandon Routh did that movie.
The Italian comic that basically went over like a wet fart. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's a choice. That's a real choice.
The Tommy Knockers as a producer.
Yes, that was announced, which I'm into that. We'll see. I mean, you never know.
Yeah.
But Annabelle 3, I really loved. I saw that movie twice.
Annabelle, the next Ouija. Movies that get inexplainably better the longer they go on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, Ouija 2 was actually quite good too, if I remember correctly, because the first one was...
and I think what is it?
Hot trash.
Is it Origins of Evil? That's the one that's like, you're like, where did this come from?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, because
I didn't... go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, because Jason Blum came to him and was like, do you want to do anything with this, Mike? And Mike was like, I'll take the name and nothing else. And then he did that, and then he made
nothing to do with the previous piece of shit.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So yeah.
Yeah.
He's also a producer on MacGyver, James Wan.
Yeah, apparently he directed the pilot.
He directed all 3 pilots that they did on that show because
didn't that show just fall on its fucking face too?
That show is still on.
68 episodes. Yeah.
That show still exists.
How is MacGyver still going in 2020?
Because it's on CBS, the network for old people.
Yeah. People that are older than me watch that channel. So.
I remember this.
Yeah, all the people dying of corona.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of, so hey, So, God damn it, Lou! Every time you have a good segue, you point it out.
That's the bit.
So, hey, was anyone excited about anything coming out in the next 2 years?
Were you excited about Existence?
Yeah. I know. I had tickets to go see what do you call it? The comedian Wong. Shit, I just lost her first name. Ali Wong.
Oh, Ali Wong.
And and all her shows got canceled.
I will say this, just to get out of the way. The idea of WrestleMania being canceled gives me some kind of sadistic joy. So that's the positive of getting out of this.
Wait, did they officially cancel it?
No, but like it went from WrestleMania will happen regardless to like the next day was a form of WrestleMania will still happen. I'm like, yeah, because it's probably a bad idea to hold that size of an event for 7 hours.
I would hope that the people who would pay to go to WrestleMania might be like, I don't want to get sick.
Mm-hmm.
No, they're the type of people who believe it's not real.
Well, yeah, because
that's the thing.
That's what they generally do.
We're dealing with wrestling fans.
I get that, but still.
I mean, here's the thing. It's a company run by a man who takes burritos apart after he gets them and covers them in ketchup. So what do we expect? What do we really anticipate?
And by ketchup, you mean a shit ton of steroids.
Yes.
After the ketchup makes it go down.
He injects the steroids into the bottom of the ketchup bottle.
Have you heard
it on his burrito?
Have you motherfuckers heard the way this guy eats candy?
He does. No, he's like this with everything.
By the fistful without a
No,
he has his own.
He is a vicious germaphobe, just like Trump. So he and this rule applies to everybody. You're not allowed. You have to eat candy from a bowl the same way Vince McMahon eats candy from a bowl, which is one hand is not to touch the bowl or the candy. The other hand gets the candy, transfers it to the other hand, and then you eat it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be smarter if you just got one of those things where it's in like a bowl and you have to turn a thing and it just shoots you candy?
I mean, maybe that probably
that would cost money, and he doesn't want to do that.
These people cut pyro for budgetary reasons, okay?
Which I do.
Anyway,
the funny.
Anyway,
I think the funny part of it is that like what 3 of the biggest sporting things in the world have like suspended or canceled their seasons, which costing probably close to $1 trillion, but he hasn't canceled his.
No.
Well, it's because like, and it's because they're married to this idea of like, we don't have an off season, we don't take time off and blah, 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 whatever. Like this is the same people who, granted, there was no actual show, but like still put on a 2-hour program, like while the police were still gathering details about Chris Benoit killing his family to himself.
Or after a wrestler fell from the sky and
they carried on a pay-per-view after a man died in front of 4,000 people.
Oh, and not forget, they also put on a pay-per-view in a country that was accused of killing a reporter like days later.
Well, I mean, they're terrible assholes, so maybe it would be good if it thinned out the herd a little bit. So looking through this list that Arlen had shared with me, it's an article from IndieWire.com about all the things that are canceled. So I'm sure if you go to that site, you can still find it. I just found the one that says all Apple TV Plus series in production have been temporarily suspended, which is pretty much everything they have, which makes me kind of wonder if this startup production or this startup streaming service isn't going to do so hot if they have to have everything delayed.
They gave if you bought like a new Apple device, you got a year free, which I know is most people.
I'm enjoying it, but I'm not saying that any of the shows are that great though. Like my wife and I watched the first season of Servant, and we're kind of like, this is intriguing, but what the fuck is going on? Like,
I don't think I've watched anything on it yet.
It's varying qualities on it, and I get it. They're a startup, but that's neither, well, not startup. Jesus Christ, it's Apple, but that's really neither here nor there. Like, I don't think it matters how powerful your company is. Like, if your entire production schedule is wiped off the map, like that's a huge blow to any type of future subscriptions you would have.
Well, I don't think that's not completely wrong. I listen to a lot of tech stuff, and I listen to the Vergecast every week, and they were actually talking about how Apple can actually kind of afford the loss for a year. That's why they're able to do that. that for them it's not really about getting money back from subscribers. It's more about advertising and getting people to buy an Apple TV, but also getting people to sign up for other services through them. So people who somehow don't have Netflix or they don't have HBO Now or so on and so forth, and signing up through them and them getting a percentage the same way that they do with the App Store, basically. And that's really the business method for them. And that year of Apple TV Plus that they give away for free, the idea is that that will somehow translate into those other secondary subscriptions. So it's all very complicated, and they're depending and assuming a lot. But for them, I don't think that they see it as that big of a deal at this moment.
Especially
yeah.
Go ahead. I was just saying, especially because since everything is canceled, people are going to be sitting at home ordering these streaming services to watch.
I get that, but I mean, it's also most of the time a new show, unless they really knock it out of the park with the first season, it's middling at best. And you know, it'll have a hook that you're interested in, but now finding out that who knows how long productions are going to be delayed for, like I would definitely watch a second season of Servant, but who the fuck knows when it's going to be on? And I'm certainly not going to subscribe for another year to this service.
And that's fair, yeah.
You know, and I feel like I mean, I watch a decent amount of weekly, whatever, various shows that are on streaming services, and I feel like if the average Joe is like, wait, I'm not going to be able to see this for 2 years, why would I keep this subscription?
Sure.
Yeah. That's the problem like CBS has had.
Well, CBS has had a lot of problems.
Yeah, I think we've already established the problem with CBS is.
I'm seeing that Fargo, unfortunately, has had its production shut down with its coming up on fourth installment season.
Flash season 6, which is still in production, has now halted, and I think Supergirl is next, which means that the rest of those shows are probably also getting shut down.
They already announced Supergirl, and they literally were on their like the last episode that they were.
Yeah, they had 3 days. I think 3 days of shooting left.
Yep.
Well, that'll be fun in a year from now when all those things come back. Also seeing on FX is production on Why the Last Man has been suspended for at least 2 weeks.
What's funny is that like in the comics chat, Ryan today was like Flash production halted. I was like, the movie or the show? And I was like, if you're Warner Bros, you like can't halt production if they ever start production. Tap their heads.
I was confused why you even put that. I was like, they've done nothing with the movie. But
I'm looking at what else. Batwoman. Also, guys, I'm really sorry to break it to you, but Young Sheldon is also going to be suspended production.
And like I can't remember what theater chain was it. Lowe's that said they're cutting like the maximum theater size.
I think it was AMC.
Was it AMC?
Yeah. Well, that's where I got the article from.
I mean, AMC bought Lowe's years ago, so you're.
That's what it's the same thing.
Yeah.
I didn't know that because I don't live on the East Coast.
I thought you were talking about the hardware store when you said Lowe's.
I seriously thought he was talking about the hardware store for just a second there.
Yeah. It must be a Jersey thing. It's. I never thought that something as innocuous as this, I mean, innocuous is downplaying it quite a bit, but still, something like this would be able to knock out production so much when tons of other things have happened that are just like, keep going.
Well, I think as far as at least the America is concerned, like we're only dealing with it through the press saying like it's happening, and internally it doesn't seem like anyone's doing anything about it. So you have all these like American-based productions that are going on, and we're probably planning on still going on, and suddenly it's like, oh, we're a national emergency now.
Yeah. Well, the problem, like, to not go too deep into like all that stuff, is that everybody knew about this. They just should have done this months ago.
Yeah.
And they just didn't. And it basically, I wonder what was like the first big thing. I feel like it was the NBA that was the first domino. Which have you guys seen the clip of that guy? Because he's an asshole.
No, I don't follow the sports.
So the one day he's like, they're asking him stuff. He's like, oh, ha ha ha, and he touches all the reporters' mics. So literally, he's the one that tested positive the next night. 15 minutes before the game, they're like, game's canceled. Everybody go home.
Good.
And his teammate also tested positive, and everyone that's played them in the last month is in self-quarantine.
I hope that guy got beaten with socks full of soap when he got back to the fucking locker room. Like,
well, the thing I think that's gonna make a lot of people realize what's actually happening is that Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson have it. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I think there will be a lot of the average person who'll see that and be like, "Oh, this is really serious." Then,
you like that guy from the '80s who was Ronald Reagan's friend who had AIDS. I cannot remember his name.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, because I mean, Reagan famously had laughed about things with AIDS and whatnot. So
not just laughed. You can hear his press secretary making fun of a reporter for asking about AIDS and being like, "What's going on with you? Is there some reason that you're asking about this? Some reason that you're curious about AIDS?"
Nah, well, that was the 80s.
That was only 30-something years ago.
You weren't even alive, were you?
No, I wasn't. I don't even think I was a sperm yet. I'm pretty sure
Erik was already voting.
Oh yeah, dude, I've been drinking for so long, but yeah, I mean, basically, what it comes down to is, like I said earlier, if you're excited about something, you might want to hold off and check out some things you haven't seen before, because this is wreaking havoc on everything.
And then postponing all the films coming out.
Yeah.
Well, things that are done already. Also, that's the other thing.
They're coming out next weekend.
New Mutants.
Yeah. Oh. That
movie has a fucking hex on it or something. Like Josh Boone, the director of that movie, must have been like after like the Disney buyout, and they were like, "Yeah, we're gonna release it." Like he's probably sitting down, like, finally, after how many years? He's like, "The world will see my movie," and like the fucking sky cracked open. Like, yes, again, jackass.
Right.
Yeah.
That movie was filmed when people liked Game of Thrones, and then it woke. It's gonna come out after everyone forgets.
Yes, it will. Like it's bizarre because I have to imagine that this movie has been the reason we haven't seen other Josh Boone things. That might not be true, but it has to be part of it. Like,
I think that, and there was bad rumors surrounding the filming of it with him.
Sure, yeah. Like, that must be why the stand hasn't gone yet. Like,
that guy better not have fucking Josh Tranked himself.
That was a rumor that there was similarities to Trank.
No.
During the filming, although I heard it was not nearly as bad. Like, he didn't destroy a fucking house.
Well, the fucking Trank stuff was appalling when you heard about it. It's like, you be a fucking adult. Like,
everyone was bad in that situation.
Yeah. Speaking
nobody
of,
reacted well though, at all.
The only thing I've heard of that I'm actually like, okay, I can respect that decision is with A Quiet Place Part 2. John, what is it?
Krasinski.
I wanted to make sure I pronounce it correctly. He's the one who basically said, like, yeah, we don't want to release this till everyone can see it in the theater together.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if that's him just trying to put a sugar coating on a pile of shit, not the movie, but just the situation.
I think
he actually had some say in, like, no.
Well, that was the first one to do it, right? Of the ones coming out, like, released.
That's the first big one. Yeah.
Well, Bond pushed back, but that was like way earlier.
Bond pushed back, but that felt like the Broccoli's at the time, at least. It felt like the Broccoli's were like they were seeing something that nobody else was, apparently, because everybody kind of laughed at them just a little bit. Like, really, is it that serious?
Because I feel like, was it Quiet Place, and then with like not even like 8 hours, it was all the Disney stuff. Fast and Furious got pushed back a year.
And just to go back to Krasinski, him saying that about A Quiet Place Part 2, that makes a lot of sense. If you think about
for a horror film,
well, not just that, the reaction to A Quiet Place Part 1, the theatrical experience is a big part of what people talk about when they talk about that movie.
Yeah,
more so than maybe than the movie itself. I remember my experience. Everybody was quiet in my theater. There was nobody talking. People were actively trying not to eat popcorn too loudly or drink drinks too much. Like, it was a big part of the experience of that film. So I think him saying that makes complete sense. And that might have been part of why it was, held back. He probably did have some part to play in that.
Which, if that is the truth, then good. I'm glad that the studio actually listened to him. Because that everything he pointed out earlier is exactly why that first movie worked so well in the theaters.
Yeah.
It is interesting. I do think like the Mulan thing is like an entirely interesting story in itself of like all the things that happened with it. I'm surprised it took them this long because that's a movie straight up made for the rest of the world, specifically China.
It's made for China. Let's be real.
Yeah, and why it took them this long?
Yeah, it is interesting. I understand that, especially because of premieres. They do big premieres for their stuff. They invite a lot of people
already, didn't it?
But they do multiple premieres for this stuff. And I saw somewhere that they moved back their LA premiere for that movie or something like that. But yeah, like they do that big. They invite a lot of people, a lot of journalists, and that would just spread. And an article that I might put in the notes for this episode is a graph by Vox that basically explained why this is a good thing, and it shows these two bell curves, and the height of one of the bell curves is significantly lower if people are able to reduce their exposure to the outside world and to each other. And to attend fewer bigger public events.
It's all about the thing you say, like flattening the curve is like the catchphrase. So yes,
exactly. So all this makes sense, and I'm glad that it's happening so
my entertainments
quickly.
Well, well, the thing is, like, you'll get all your streaming stuff. Like, I bet, like, the numbers of like people streaming is going to skyrocket.
Probably,
and all
people
that
are going to catch up on a lot of stuff.
Oh, that's my plan. I'm gonna watch Peaky Blinders, some Dracula, The Boys.
I ain't afraid no beer virus.
Well, if I was in charge of, let's say, like a Movies Anywhere or Voodoo, I would be the most evil asshole on earth because I would raise prices on everything by like $1 or $1.50.
See, I would
but if they go the opposite way, like they'll be making pennies on the dollar. Like they sell stuff super cheap on those sites. So
see, if I was Netflix or Hulu, I guess Disney, I would be like, oh, here's a free week.
Yeah. Or
everybody.
Or just reduce the price for like 3 months by like $2. I can understand that streaming services, but I'm saying people selling actual digital movies, like, oh, hey, if you're going to be at home and you want to see this new movie, that's the other end of the coin, or the other end of the spectrum. I could see them releasing stuff sooner digitally if they really wanted to get it out there.
Yeah,
if they thought it was going to middling return in the theaters.
The problem with playing with the prices is like there's so many issues right now with like people not having work. Speaking as one of those people that is going to be greatly affected by this.
It's going to affect a lot of paychecks for a lot of people.
I was listening to a show, and it was somebody who a podcast, and they were talking to someone who worked the like big events at South by Southwest, and obviously that didn't happen. So she was like, we make 3 months worth of salary in that week, and now it's gone. And that's and that's in a big city. That's in Austin. So like, she's like, I basically have to like figure something out to get all this extra money, and that's a lot of places.
Yeah. I won't go into the inner politics of what it's like to work in a hospital right now.
Like I know for me, like down here, like one of the local restaurants is like, oh, you can call in, place an order, and we'll put it in a bag outside for you to pick up.
Yeah,
and that's how they're dealing with it. And it's like that's actually a fucking great idea.
Stuff's happening. People are adjusting in interesting ways.
Yeah, and this is a constantly evolving story because we're not sure how long this is actually going to last. Like, I think a lot of the studios are trying to be somewhat optimistic because most of the things that I'm seeing are like they're delayed for like a month or like 2 months or like
Yeah.
at our shortest 3 weeks I was seeing.
Because the problem is that like, and it's not just us, it's like worldwide, is that you can't, like, the percentage numbers are like completely bullshit because we don't know the raw data of how many people are infected.
Well, especially because there was like instances where people were getting on and off fucking boats that being tested, and then like 1 or 2 and later on would test positive. And we're like, great, we have no idea how many fucking people you coughed on, how many doorknobs you touched.
You can be, and they've found asymptomatic people that have it.
Yep. Yeah, there's a typhoid Mary type situations where there's people who are super carriers, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Or you can have a super mild case. Like it varies so much. It's basically all this is like everybody that's under like 65 is kind of fine unless you have a jacked up immune system.
Yeah.
Right.
And then everybody else, it's like all those older people like that work in the city I live by are the ones that are at risk.
Yeah.
I saw a dumb thing on Facebook today from someone soliciting medical advice off Facebook, which is weird. And then I saw like a fucking debate was taken. I guess the question was about like, what do I do with my kids? And someone was like, expose them, it'll help them get a mutant.
Oh no!
I was like, what the fuck is the matter with you? It's not the chicken pox. Like,
I was actually covered on the because I listen every morning to like the ABC News thing. It's like 25 minutes. I just to get like what's going on, and they did their own. They're like, oh, we did a podcast to dispel every rumor about coronavirus. Please download it. Wash your goddamn hands.
Yeah. Yes.
That's the main thing. Wash your goddamn hands.
Wash your hands. Don't touch your face.
I don't know how much I've said about my day job, but with the things that I've seen, wash your goddamn fucking hands. Wash your damn hands.
I work in schools. It doesn't matter.
Me and Lou have similar-ish jobs that kind of overlap in some senses. And I was maybe it was a week ago, I was working a 4-day basketball tournament. And there were still people not washing their hands, and we had signs up where I work telling people about the coronavirus.
Have you guys seen that clip of like, I can't remember what politician or whoever she was?
Oh, is that a CDC person?
Who's like, remember, wash your hands, don't touch your face, and then she licks her fingers and turns her page.
There's 2 of them. It's her doing that, and then in New York, AOC is like saying the same thing and then pushes her hair out of her face.
Oh, well, my wife had shown me a video. I wasn't German prime minister. It was somewhere in Europe, and this particular gentleman was trying to encourage people like, do not shake hands anymore. Do not shake hands anymore. We're just going to bump elbows, whatever the case might be. And first thing he does when he introduces the guy who's coming on next to the podium is to shake his hand.
There's actually a clip going on right now that I can't remember who it is. But it was like a White House thing, and Trump goes to shake his hand, the guy puts out an elbow. And it's like, it's just like shaking hands is such like an ingrained thing in people, and touching your face. Like I like one kid in the class was like, "Oh, I'm not going to touch my face." I'm like, "I'm going to watch you. I'm going to count the whole class how many times you touch your face."
Yeah, I would encourage all of you, if you haven't seen it before, to go watch Contagion, the Steven Soderbergh film.
Oh no, thanks. Those movies terrify me. I'm good.
It's eerie how similar it is to the situation going on right now. My wife and I just watched it the other night. It's great. It's a great movie, but it's kind of terrifying and finding out about things like the R-naughts and things like that. So.
I was reading some stuff about The Stand, and I was like, ooh.
And we're not at that point yet.
Yeah, my wife did, which I think is funny because today was her last day at work for like a while. She gets to work from home for a little bit. And she printed out like the different songs that you can sing to do the timing for your hands.
Yes.
Which I have some of the lyrics now.
Well, Raspberry Beret by Prince, if you do chorus.
That's the top right. That's the one on the top right. There's Staying Alive, Africa, Landslide. Another one, Bites the Dust, Mamma Mia, Toxic, No Scrubs.
Nope.
Toxic is especially good. Toxic that's
But speaking of things that will kill old people, there was an old person that died recently. Hey man, I don't have any fucking taste.
I suppose we did this.
Yeah, that was a Max Von segue.
Yeah,
we can go.
You open the door. The door. I just showed you the way through. Unfortunately, the world Max von Sydow recently. And
Yes.
to be perfectly honest with you, everything I've seen him in, I've enjoyed, but he's
Mhm.
always been oh, hey, it's Max von Sydow. And that's the extent
Right.
of things that I've said when I've been watching him.
Because he's been
Mhm.
alive for 90. He was alive
Yeah.
for 90 years. So
I mean,
Well,
even
yeah, and
even in
yeah.
The Exorcist, like, don't get me wrong, he's great in it, but it's not
I was
his
about to
movie.
say.
It's
I was
not
about to
his
say
movie.
you better shut your mouth if you say the wrong thing here.
No,
But
it's
no,
not
you're
his
right.
movie, though.
It's a movie that is very much billed as if it is his movie, but it's really not his movie. It's yeah.
Yeah, it's
What's
the
her
actor who
names?
played Kerrigan and Blair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the movies that people know him from are it's like a one or two really big movies, and then it's a lot of small stuff.
Mhm.
That he's always good in those roles, but I don't think he's ever anybody's favorite, with a
No.
couple exceptions.
he's like great. He's like the perfect addition to like everything he's in. Like he just adds,
Sure.
he added flavor to it.
He's also one of those actors who, at the point like where all of us are starting to like recognize him in our lives, like if he
Mhm.
shows up in something, you're like, oh, this is speaking to its quality.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Also,
when
they couldn't get Christopher Plummer. They couldn't pay him. And then
well, like when Bethesda first released the like sizzle reel or the sizzle trailer, whatever you want to call it, for Skyrim, and you all of a sudden hear the dulcet tones of Max von Sydow, you're like, this is going to be the greatest thing ever. And I mean, it ended up being great, but once again, he played a very small part in it.
Yeah, like again, couple exceptions. He's really great in Minority Report.
Yes, he's great in
movie.
that.
That he works so well. He gives Tom Cruise is an actor who I consider to be a mirror. He's a mirror of whatever's in front of him. Max von Sydow is a great person for him to mirror off of, and I think he definitely amplifies him in that movie. And there are a couple of times where he pops up, but
he popped up in Ridley Scott's Robin Hood for
yes, he did.
And it's you're like this movie cannot be saved by you, sir.
Right?
Oh, you think that's the only movie that he's in? Judge Dredd with Stallone, and I love
God.
He's really good in that too.
He's really good at it.
Yeah.
Well, it's not that he's ever been a bad actor in a film, because he was inherently a good actor, but some of his choices, I guess, were questionable.
Well, I mean, in regards to Robin Hood, if someone walks up and says, "Hey, you want to be in a Robin Hood movie directed by Ridley Scott?" and if you say no, that's your fault.
Well, and Max von Sydow knew Robin Hood, so I'm sure he's like, "I'll do that to remember."
Yeah, but then he plays a character who dies because he can't lift up a sword.
Exactly.
Because he's too fucking old. Also, that movie's really fucking boring.
Just like his character in in Force Awakens.
Exactly.
Oh, well, no, he shows up to look at the camera and go, "The prequels sucked," and then gets his head cut off with a lightsaber.
Basically, essentially.
Yeah.
Like he pops up and he occasionally does a really good job, and occasionally he does a fine job. Like, but it is I would say it's a big loss for a lot of
elevates everything he's in. Like one of the things I was looking through his IMDb, I didn't know he was the voice of Vigo in Ghostbusters.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the ultimate job for him, because I believe it was his last major acting role, was replacing all of Kevin Spacey in the movie about the gangs.
So this goes back to my joke. That was Christopher Plummer.
Yeah, that was Christopher Plummer.
Oh, it was Christopher Plummer. God
I thought you were doing a bit there, Eric.
No, god damn it.
That was Christopher Plummer, but that goes to my bit of like they did I think they went out for a lot of the same roles, and it really was like, give this one to Max. He needs it. I heard that he wasn't working
until Ian McKellen got of that age. Then he joined the group.
Ian McKellen gets lead more, though, I would say, than either of them.
Ian McKellen is like approaching the same level of like being. He just hasn't done as much of that.
I think without X-Men and without Lord of the Rings, I think he would be them. Like he would be that role.
Yeah, that's
the kind of stuff he was doing before.
I don't think there's a single role you can say that Max von Sydow will ever be remembered for. I mean,
Right.
Exorcist, but it wasn't
Exorcist.
that big. But that's the thing. Look at the size of the part that Gandalf had, Ian Kellen had.
Oh no,
Yeah.
yeah. Comparing
And
them, I'm not. I'm just
that's
saying.
what I
was just
mean.
making the joke of old, like British
Oh,
European.
yeah.
Well, yes, they will get offered those same parts. Like, I'm sure if Ian didn't exist, he would have been in that movie with Helen Mirren, where he plays a huckster or something.
Oh,
like that.
I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, they obviously, either one of them could have been in that role, and they might have been in that role 10, 20 years ago.
I feel like he's like maybe it's like he's the greatest character actor of all time, kind of.
Yeah, one of the most prolific.
I was like, I forgot he was the three-eyed raven in Game of Thrones when it was good.
Well, we all willingly forgot that.
No, that's when that show was good.
Did. Well, no, that's in season 6, which is the last good season of Game of Thrones. So,
I did not know he was Ming the Merciless.
Yes, he was.
Flash Gordon.
I think that's the thing that most people know him from. If I had to guess,
I would say Exorcist is 1, and then maybe that's 2.
I think they know the image of him, but I think like things that people quote. I feel like it's him for the most part.
Who are you hanging out with that quotes fucking Flash Gordon?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, he was also in Dune, which is
he was, but once again, he was a minor role in that.
Yeah, well, and same with like Conan the Barbarian. He's in that.
Well, and that's the thing. I think he's a big guy for depending on who you talk to. I think everybody's gonna have their own Max von Sydow favorites. Again, for me, King Osric is that. Yeah, exactly. Like,
well, that's why I'd like to workshop my new podcast idea, which is Max von Sydow moments. And each one will only be 10 minutes long.
Here's the thing: you joke, but I will 100% do that.
Oh, if you go to his IMDb, they actually have like a remembering Vince, like remembering him, and like it's all the pictures. It's like I was like, oh, it's like Seventh Seal, it's The Exorcist, Flash Gordon. And I was like, oh, that's right. He was in The Greatest Story Ever Told. He played Jesus.
I totally forgot he was in Seventh Seal. Jesus, I mean.
Yeah.
It's his like third movie.
Well, Seventh Seal is Seventh Seal is the movie he's iconic. That's the movie that made him who he is. But I don't think most Americans who've grown up now know what that film is.
No. Because only Erik was alive during that.
Exactly. Only Erik was alive to watch it in theaters. But like he really does have. He's one of those actors where everybody has their Max von Sydow.
Yeah, I didn't know he's in Never Say Never Again.
Yeah,
I don't remember
he's in Dreamscape, which is the Inception prequel. It's canon. I said it. It's canon. You can't.
That movie. Well, it's funny. Side note with Dreamscape is also that movie created the PG-13 rating, if I remember correctly.
It's one of them.
I thought it was what do you call it?
Red Dawn or Temple of Doom.
People always say Red Dawn or they say Temple of Doom
because one caused the other one. Yeah, it's basically like one came out and someone was like, "Well, this isn't PG and it's not R," but well, I think, and then it got a PG anyway, and then whatever one came out next was the one that got PG-13.
Yeah, I knew Dreamscape was around that time period, so maybe I'm incorrect.
Also,
it was around that. Yeah.
He came back to reprise Vigo for the video game, and he has some of the best dialogue in that fucking game. Because if you go walk up to him, the picture's just in the fucking Ghostbusters headquarters, like off to the side, like slanted off in a pile of garbage. And you walk up to him, he's like, "I Vigo, blah blah blah," and then he's like, "Once I escaped this prison," and he like makes predictions about like the fucking oil crisis in 2001, like the new Iraq war, like a bunch of weird social media predictions and stuff.
Holy shit! I have to like add this photo on the remembering. It's a photo from Hannah and her sisters with him, Michael Caine, Daniel Stern.
Oh damn!
Oh my god! MDU star.
And Hunter, god damn it. Connor, yes, Hunter, who's not here. Connor, you were correct. It was Red Dawn was the first PG-13 and Dreamscape was the second.
Yeah, I think it was Temple of Doom is the reason.
It's because Temple of Doom was violent, but no one in their right mind would ever want to give it a rated R rating because
I think it's for the heart rip scene and the monkey brain scene is why they were like that. Those two scenes. The other big movie, which I've never seen because I don't like these type of movies, is that's constantly on here is like the Incredibly Close and What's it called? Extremely Loud and Incredible, the 9/11 thing.
Oh, you mean the Oscar bait film?
Yeah, but he's actually very good in that film.
Once again,
despite it being awful,
because he's a good actor.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yes. I would actually go one step further to say he's exceptional in that movie. Yeah. It's just a really, really not good movie.
Which, it's like remember, you have a good actor in the lead, and then the final 10 minutes, it's like surprise 9/11.
Yeah, well, he did a bunch of bad movies. Yeah. Like I'm looking, he's in Rush Hour 3. He's in, I guess he was in Shutter Island, which is a good movie.
He is great.
Shutter Island is it's an interesting movie. I need to see it again.
But he was in Solomon Kane, which I forgot to get until this moment.
Solomon Kane, a movie I pieced out on after 10 minutes.
That movie's 11 years old.
Oof.
Yes, it is. Not good from those 10 minutes that I tried to watch. Yeah,
I have never bothered.
Yeah, no.
I was what's his name? The Howard aspect of it had me interested. We've talked about this. He's the long lost ancestor of Conan, so I was like, okay, maybe this will be interesting.
He's supposed to be like Conan's great grandson or something.
Well, like thousands of years removed, so it's like long descendant. Not that matters, because it turns out like most of us on this podcast right now may be able to draw our lineage back to Charlemagne, so whatever. It doesn't really matter all that much. But he's in a lot of stuff. Diving Beyond the Butterfly, which is a movie I haven't seen, but it's one of those movies that gets talked about in terms of
Diving Beyond the Butterfly was phenomenal. I totally forgot he was even in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that movie,
he's in a lot of that stuff. Yeah.
That's totally worth your time to check out.
Yes. Yeah, I've heard that.
But yeah, does anybody have anything else they wanted to add about on Sydow?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Yeah. Are any other cleanup news stories that anybody has seen recently that they wanted to add?
No, everything's canceled. Go home.
Yeah,
I'm gonna make sure we don't lose anything. Let's see.
Did anything get canceled while we were recording?
Something.
It's a very honest question, actually.
Yeah. It's a very real question. Scream hired new directors for a new Scream film. So yeah.
Great.
No, thanks.
Are they of any note, or are they?
I just clicked on the article. Let's see.
Wait, did Bloodshot not get delayed? Is that coming out?
No, because it was already out. It was
done.
It already came out?
Yeah, it came out last night.
Lou, are you surprised that it came out and you didn't hear about it? Like,
no, and yes, at the same time. Paid $1.5 million. This is what I saw.
Okay. The guys who did Ready or Not will be bringing us a 5th Scream film.
In canon?
Have we all seen Ready or Not? Or have
Yes, and the ending is gloriously insane.
It's amazing. I love the ending of that film. Eric, did you get a chance to see that film?
No, but I read enough about it that I know everything that happened. So
the visuals are fantastic.
Their style is very strong. They have a good understanding of balancing gore and suspense and tension and comedy, which is the most important thing with Scream, I would argue. And just balancing tone. And they're very good at casting. So if they're starting from scratch with Scream, that I would say they have a good shot of making something good. If they're trying to pick up what has been established from any of the previous films, I think they could also handle that.
I don't remember what was Scream 4. I know I've seen them all.
Scream 4 is
a bloated fucking cast, and wasn't the killer like a secret sibling?
Wasn't it in Hollywood?
I mean, do we want to go spoilers on Scream 4 right now?
Isn't it Neve Campbell's long lost brother?
I think it is.
No, that's 3. 3 is her brother.
3 is the one in Hollywood?
Yes. 4.
I thought that was 4.
4, they go back to the town, and the thing is that there's a new cast of the young kids because they're all old now. Because that's how that works. And the twist of the movie, which is actually a really good twist if you watch it in context, is that Sydney's niece is the killer. But they set her up the whole time to be the new Sydney.
Yeah, I definitely never saw this because I guess it stars the
girls from keep being related to her.
It stars one of the girls from Pretty Little Liars.
It's it's the Skywalker clan of the horror screen.
That damn insane. What is her name?
I don't disagree,
that damn
but
Prescott blood is cursed.
But I do think that I understand why you would say that. But at the same time, you got to remember, nobody at the time would assume that they would make her the villain. They assumed that she was just going to be the new Sydney, and that Sydney would maybe be the villain, or that she might get killed off.
How did they get this cast together?
It's an insane cast. Well,
I'm looking at it. It's Anna Paquin, Kristen Bell.
Okay, so Lou, I'm gonna have to spoil some more stuff for you, unless you don't want it. Do you want more spoilers on this movie?
Do I give a shit about Scream 4?
I don't know. Here's the thing. It's not. It's kind of worth your time to watch.
Alison Brie and Hayden Panettiere and Emma Roberts are in this.
Like, does anybody care about me spoiling the very beginning of this movie?
No.
I know what you're talking about. I've seen this part.
So it begins with them. With the idea is that they're making fun of how movies get sequels and sequels by having it be that there are like 500 stab movies, and you keep on seeing the beginning of another stab movie, and it opens up to another stab movie, and it keeps going out and out and out until you get to the point.
A nesting doll of stab movies.
And it's pretty funny. I remember it being funny. At least it's been so long since I saw it.
That makes sense because I don't remember Scream 3 being kind of like tongue in cheek because it took place in Hollywood,
right? And they keep that going in the fourth one. And I remember thinking, and part of it might have been Wes Craven's movie right before that. That's part of why I might have a happy memory of this one, because that's the movie.
Is that after My Soul to Take?
Yes, that's the movie directly before. And My Soul to Take is bad.
My Soul to Take
real bad.
Is probably the worst slasher movie I've ever seen. And is one of the worst theatrical experiences I've ever had in my life. I had a headache halfway through it, and I was like, this is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever sat through. And it's made by fucking Wes Craven.
I can't remember if it's that movie or I think it's The Ward. I don't know. It's the one. There was one that had Amber Heard.
The Ward is John Carpenter.
That's The Ward.
Okay, yeah, that movie was not very good either, but it did have your frozen waifu in it. So,
oh yay!
Yeah.
Daniel Panabaker. The correct term is Aisu waifu. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I did look it up. Well, so wait, did you say Bloodshot came out last weekend or came out this week?
It came out last night. Technically, it came out last night. Because
so far it's made last night. So far, it's made $1.5 million worldwide.
I mean, who's shocked?
And I'm rounding up.
Well, that's some of that, and I'm being 100% honest here. Some of that is probably also because of coronavirus fear.
It is a lot of that, and also I haven't seen a trailer for it on regular TV.
Period.
I've only ever seen the trailer in like YouTube videos
on people's Facebooks.
Well, I'm not going to go into any conspiracy theories right now, but I think somebody has it out for Vin Diesel. I don't know who, but they're trying to suppress. They're trying to suppress him and his dancing ability, and I will not stand for it.
I would say it's food because he's eating it all.
Yes, probably.
It's Han's revenge.
Exactly. That's what it is. Him and his sentient Corona bottle.
You motherfucker! You let the man who murdered me hold your child.
and get a spin-off film.
Yeah, with The Rock,
a spin-off franchise.
I haven't seen it, but there was a Black Widow trailer, so like.
I saw it. It looks awesome.
Yeah, it does.
Fucking rad. It looks. Yeah. It looks like they're just like
Winter Soldier Part 2.
It is Winter Soldier 2.0.
Yeah, I still am not a huge fan of the mask ski goggles thing with Taskmaster.
Yeah, it is what it is, though.
I'm sorry, when he popped Black Panther claws and drop kicked David Harbour, I was like, this looks fucking awesome.
Oh, yeah, when he has like a bow and the shield, and I'm like, oh shit, that works.
Could one of you steer me in the right direction? What is the time frame on this movie? Like,
it's after Civil War.
Civil War, before Infinity War.
Okay, because somebody was trying to tell me in another movie group I was in that it takes place in the 5-year period between Infinity War and
it's
okay.
not
That was
in
a
the
rumor.
blip. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's basically to set up that what's her name is taking over as the new Black Widow, her sister.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which I'm all for.
Because what's her name? Rachel Weisz is playing their mom, who's the same age as Scarlett Johansson.
She's playing their genetic mom, or is she just playing their handler?
They refer to her as mom in the trailer.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're trying to say that's their real mom. Which that's got to be a kick in the dick for Rachel Weisz.
Rachel Weisz is 50.
I don't know about that. I mean,
she gets to be in a Marvel movie.
Right. I feel like she must be their Black Widow mom, like their.
Oh, she's 15 years older than Scarlett Johansson.
Right. Like I know the older woman is supposed to be the one who trains them all, but like I could see her being their handler, basically.
Well, also,
like
weren't the widows they were all sterilized, weren't they? So I mean,
yes. Yeah, so if she's a widow, she can't have had them.
She might have been before they sterilized them.
Yeah, or there could have been some fuckery that she was pregnant when she went in, and they.
Okay, so her name, none of them have the same last name.
No.
So it's Natasha Romanoff,
because
Yelena
they're all
Belova.
supposed to be orphans. That's the point of
Rachel Weisz's character is Milena Vostokov.
And I know we all have things like this where the comics and the movies blend, and we have what we think it should be based off the comics, but they seem to be sticking pretty close to the comics and how they've established Black Widow's origins, at least in recent years, with the Noto run and the Samney run, I think.
Well, also with it, they kind of expanded on it. I know no one really watched the show, but in the first season of Agent Carter, one of the characters is another person from that program.
Oh, well, she's like a proto Black Widow. She's like one of the first generation Black Widows. And we're supposed to understand that she is the older woman who is talking to Natasha in Ultron Dream Sequence.
Yeah, I believe so, yes.
So, I would believe, again, that Weisz is like the older agent who was in charge of her and Florence Pugh when they were first starting out.
Because the scene that it's the four of them with David Harbour sitting, and he Scarlett Johansson says something, and Harbour's like, "Don't talk to your mother like that," and that's where it's confusing. Right. They're like this little family. So I'm guessing, was he also part of that program?
I think he was just. My guess is that they were a sleeper cell, that they were undercover. For some reason.
Like the Americans, kind of.
Yeah, that would be my guess, and.
I don't know, because it seems like when she escaped, she left the younger one there. Is what it seems.
Yeah. Well, we know that it was Hawkeye that brought her in.
Yeah.
So I would assume that it was just she left, and Florence Pugh was stuck behind for whatever.
I really hope they don't push this back because it's May 1st, and that's kind of close to, I think
we'll know by April 1st if they're going to push this one.
I know. I think it was Ryan was brought up yesterday. Wouldn't it be if they did move it to just put it either the same weekend or the weekend before Winter Soldier Falcon comes out?
That would actually be a really smart
and
move.
to kind of tie them together better. It's all right, if they push it back, it's just I don't want to wait that long for this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, but here's the thing: we're in this period where I'm kind of numb from not having Marvel stuff. Where it's so waiting a couple months extra is not going to be that big of a deal.
Yeah, we don't have the burden of anticipation. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I've come off the Marvel high that I had from Endgame.
Well, I think everyone was. I think this is Spider-Man was right after that, and then it's been kind of quiet, and then this is finally coming around, and this looks so goddamn good.
I didn't realize this is who Taskmaster is. He's in the show I stopped watching. What's her name from Invisible Man is it on Hulu?
Handmaid's Tale?
Yeah, it's the guy who plays her husband. I guess he's Taskmaster.
You mean her
black guy.
actual husband? Okay.
Yes.
Oh wow, that's interesting. Huh.
Yeah.
But no, this looks this looks fantastic. So I kind of have a lot of anticipation for it, but
yeah,
I'm not like, again, like Endgame was so fucking good. I'm not like, give it to me now.
It's more, and it's Marvel stuff. Like, I'm gonna be there.
My thing with this is that I'm not sure. Like, I'm excited to see it. Don't get me wrong, because of the content and just premise of it. But part of me is like, well, it doesn't seem like it's going to be setting up what they're going to be doing with these new phases. That's the nerdy part of me, and that's where I'm kind of like.
I think, except for the fact that it's going to introduce the other Black Widow. Yeah. And I think it's also going to introduce the idea that other countries were trying to make super soldiers.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're not.
If Kevin Feige was allowed to make it 5 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Which now he's got like the godhead of Marvel.
Yeah.
I also feel like we're not going to get an idea of where they're really going until Eternals comes out.
Yeah. Which that's supposed to be in late November.
Something like that.
Well, it's interesting because they've said it before Infinity War. They're both hampered, but they can sort of set certain things up in motion and sort of establish them as being long-standing. Like, if we got a tease for mutants during this movie, it's not going to help my overall problem of where have they been all this time.
Yeah.
But for a lot of other people for which that's not as big of a problem, it will help if they were to set them in the post-credits.
I could see them doing something more like Fantastic Four in the post-credits.
Well,
like
that was one of the things with like the weird rumors with New Mutants, where they're like, oh, the way that trailer goes, it's like it kind of could be a backdoor way. They're like, oh, the government's just like finding them and then cordoning them off.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I did want to say that I want to say the guy's name so I don't just refer to him as Black Guy. O.T. Fagabinelli.
That's racist.
He played Calico Jack in Assassin's Creed 4, which I did not know.
Okay.
Huh.
I don't remember who that is.
Yeah, I don't either. But yeah, I guess with that we could probably wrap it up. I don't think there's anything else.
Yes, we can
hit on. So
I can't think of anything. So
I've been muddling through as your host / anchor for this episode. I'm Erik Fedorchak. You can find me at Erik_Fedor on Instagram. There's pictures of dogs and cats and food and comics. There's also some pictures of my now healed fractured foot. You can also find me floating around the Phantom Zone. Just doing my thing on the Phantom Zone. Please come join us. Be one of us. With the collective. You can also find me paying my allegiance to Gamblor, the giant sentient slot machine that rules all of Las Vegas. And also, I'd like to tell you all about how you have the government tracking devices in you. They were putting you when you had your polio vaccine.
Jesse, you don't scare me. I saw a thing the other day about how Arnold embarrasses you during Predator, so
I'm ashamed of my
and your arms were 3 inches smaller.
I didn't get to lock arms with that large black man who I can't remember the name of right now.
But he was probably a reptilian.
But that's it for me.
Yeah.
I'm Connor McGraw. We got a new episode of Movie Dumpster coming out soon where we watched a very unlucky Leprechaun with Warwick Davis, and it's batshit insane and has basically the same plot as a Leprechaun movie, which also has Warwick Davis, including similar sets, motifs, plot devices, and other stuff. And it's really fucking bizarre, and it has an ending that is completely off the fucking rails. It's probably my
tiny man
favorite episode we've done in a long time, so I'm really excited for it to come out. So that should be out next week.
Nice. Lost Horror Podcast. We've been back for a little while. We have a couple episodes that are already out. We were off this last Sunday. We should be coming back this Sunday with 2 episodes on Akira Kurosawa. So go give those a listen. And here are, I'm sure, completely original thoughts on 3 classics of Japanese cinema. So yeah, go check that out when that hits. Should be around the time that I get this up, or maybe not. Who knows?
Consistency.
Yep.
And my name's not Lou Gonzalez, it's Hunter Davenport, and you can follow me at young_kami. And just wanted you to know you can tag me in all your posts, how much you hate Rebecca Black. Make sure to tag me and her in it. Because I'm really not a fan. I think she's overrated and she's pretty ugly.
You were also encouraged to write slanderous tweets towards anyone who's written Moon Knight books.
Yes. Moon Knight, Godzilla.
And if you
Oh, go ahead.
No, my joke was too mean, and I'm not going through. Not too. I'll tell you guys what it was after.
I do have a special missive from Hunter. He originally had written 3, but he's going to do something about that later. He did want to let you know, Leonardo. Yes, you, Leonardo. You can suck it. Moon Knight rules.
Yes.
Yeah, my Twitter is also at Hunty is dead. Again, tag me in posts for about Rebecca Black. She's the worst.
God damn.
Hashtag.
Go ahead.
Well, I think that's it, everybody.
Yeah, that's everyone. Bye.
Good night, folks.
Bye.
I'll see everybody.
Or morning, whatever time it is where you listen to this.
Hashtag not America's boyfriend.
Wash your hands. Don't go out.